about the conic section, ellipse. An ellipse is the oval shape that is formed when slicing a cone at an angle. An ellipse is the set of all points on the plane whose distance from two fixed points, called the focal points, add up to a constant. As you watch the point along the ellipse travel, the sum of the two red lines stays constant. The general equation for an ellipse is x minus h, quantity squared, divided by a squared, plus y minus k, quantity squared, divided by b squared, equals 1. The conic section of the ellipse is composed of several points: the center, two focal points, two vertical vertices, and two horizontal vertices. H and K are the coordinates for the center. A is the distance from the center to the horizontal vertices. B is the distance from the center to the vertical vertices. C is the distance from the center to the focal points. We have two equations for C. C equals either the square root of a squared minus b squared or b squared minus a squared. You will determine which equation to use based on if a is greater than b or if b is greater than a. The major axis is the distance between the vertices. The vertices are the points that are farthest away from the center. The minor axis is the distance between the co-vertices. The co-vertices are the points closest to the center. The focal points are always on the major axis. The orientation of an ellipse can be either horizontal or vertical. Horizontal is longer, where vertical is taller and more narrow. Horizontal ellipse will happen when A is greater than B and the major axis is horizontal. The vertical ellipse will happen when the major axis is vertical, and that's when B is greater than A. And again, you'll have to choose which C equation to use, and you will make sure that whatever is on the inside the radicand needs to stay positive. So if A is greater than B, you do A squared minus B squared. If B is greater than A, then you do B squared minus A squared. Write the equation of the ellipse that has foci at 3, 6, negative 3, 2, and length of the major axis is 10. We're going to start off by drawing a sketch. The sketch is going to help us determine what we need to find. So we need h, k, a squared, and b squared. Where is the center? When I look at my sketch, I determine that the center is halfway between the focal points. So that is negative 3, 4. The other information that I have is the focal points. What information can I get from them? Well, I have the c value because c is the distance from the center to the foci. What else do I have? When I read the question again, I see I have a major axis is equal to 10. Since my focal points are aligned vertically, my major axis is also going to be aligned vertically. My b is going to be equal to 5. B is equal to 5 because the major axis is 10 and the ellipse is vertical, so the distance from the center to the vertices is going to be half the major axis. What else do I need to calculate? Well, I still need a squared, so I have c is equal to the square root of b squared minus a squared. I have c, I have b, and once I solve for a squared, I get a squared is equal to 21. X plus 3, quantity squared, over 21, plus y minus 4, quantity squared, over 25 equals 1, is the ellipse that has the focal points negative 3, 6, negative 3, 2, with a major axis of 10. Okay, we're going to graph the following ellipse. We have 9x squared plus 4y squared minus 36x plus 40y minus 8 equals 0. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to rearrange the terms and factor out the common factor, and then we'll complete the square. I'm going to organize my information so my x terms are next to each other and my y terms are next to each other, and any constants I have are on the other side of the equation. I need to factor out the common factor. So I see 9 is my common factor for my x terms and 4 is my common factor for my y terms. Next, I need to complete the square. Though way I find the values that will complete both of those squares is I take half of the b value, in this case is 4, and square that, so I'm going to end up with 4 for my completing the square of the x terms. For the y terms, the b value is 10, half of 10 is 5, 5 squared is 25, so I end up with 25. Whatever I add to the left side of the equation, I need to add to the right side of the equation. So we add 9 times 4 plus 4 times 9. It's the common factor times whatever value we found that completed the square. We're going to rewrite them into factored form. So 9 times x minus 2 squared plus 4 times y plus 5 squared equals 144. The standard form of the equation has a 1 on the left side or the right side of the equation, so we're going to divide everything by 144. Once we simplify 9 over 144 and 4 over 144, we have x minus 2 quantity squared over 16 plus y plus 5 quantity squared over 36 is equal to 1. Okay. When I am graphing, I need to determine my a value and my b value. A is the square root of 16 and b is the square root of 6. Is the major axis vertical or horizontal? Since b is larger than a, it's going to be vertical. Which c-value equation do I use? Between the two c-value equations, I need to use the one where b squared minus a squared because b is larger. I need to calculate my c-value because those are going to be the focal points that go on my graph. So I have the square root of 36 minus 6 is 4.4. The first piece of information that goes on my graph is the center. Those are the h and k values. They are the opposite of the values inside the parentheses. So we have 2, -5. Then I'm going to count up 6 and down 6 to get my vertices. To the left and right, 4 to get the covertices. And since it's a vertical ellipse, I'm going to count up 4.47 and down 4.47 for my two focal points. And then lastly, I connect my covertices to my vertices in the shape of an oval.